Hello, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast of our weekly community gathering that we call the Grove. Every week, we come together to celebrate each other as well as to do some magic, some meditation, and to hopefully get some words of wisdom and some inspiration. So, I would like to welcome you and hope that you will find our casual environment, a place for you to feel comfortable enough to chat in the chat room, the comments section, get to know some of our other viewers and members that join us here every week. You'll find everybody's very loving and very welcoming. So I welcome you to today's broadcast. Today we are going to touch on magical symbolism of the tarot, which is very near and dear to my heart. And I, of course, will get into that as we get to that segment of today's broadcast. With that said, I hope you all have had a great week. I myself had a very lovely week. We had some beautiful snow come down here in Roanoke. It was a little weird driving in it, but this is the first time I've ever had to shovel my car out. This is the first year I've had a car where it actually snowed on it. Anyway, so without further ado, as usual, I do like to start our time together with the invocation of the Great Mother. So if you would like to close your eyes and take a deep breath and join me as we call the Great Mother to bless our time together. O Great Mother, Lady of the night and the silvery moon, she whom is the darkness and the light that shines through it. Hail to thee, great Lady of the moon, and hear us, your children, as we ask of your divine presence here within our sacred circle of light, where we come to partake of the great beauty, strength, and wisdom within each and every one of us. Blessed be. So now that we've done the invocation, today's reading from the Book of One, for those of you that might be new and don't know, the Book of One is kind of my spiritual handbook that I wrote many years ago, and we did publish a fourth edition with an additional like 40 pages of meditations. But I chose today chapter 21, which talks about divine archetypes. And I chose this because of the fact that there are so many archetypes involved in magical symbolism, and the itself is a great representation of archetypes, universal archetypes that we can all relate to. So, chapter 21 from the Book of One, Divine Archetypes. All gods are one God, though they may manifest themselves differently, their qualities, names, and attributes. All goddesses are one goddess, though they may manifest themselves differently, their vibrations, meanings, and love. God and goddess are one being the source from which they were born, one God, one love, one soul, one human family, one. Blessed be. So now, with that chapter fresh in our minds, I like us to take this opportunity to do just a simple minute meditation to ground ourselves, to quiet our minds, and to give ourselves a moment of inner focus. So join me for this minute meditation. Take a deep breath in and just relax. Breathing in, I am calm. Breathing out, I am in peace. Blessed be. So today's talk is going to be on the tarot symbol, magical symbolism within the tarot. And let me tell you a little bit about my history of the tarot. I'm not going to go into a long resume or anything, but one of the things why I feel the magical symbolism of the tarot is so important to me is that when I first picked up my first tarot deck, geez, maybe in my mid-teens, late teens, I would probably say. At the time, I had already studied the runes, and the runes had been my main form of divination. But I really wanted to learn more about the tarot, and so I started studying the tarot a little bit. And it just all the symbolism and that little book of meanings that they give you, it was just like it was too overwhelming to learn every single card and all of that. So I went on with my magical training. I kind of put the tarot cards aside, and it was in my training in ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn training, especially utilizing the book Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig, that I learned more about symbolism and the different magical symbolism that was out there. I hadn't much studied that prior to that. And it was in understanding and getting to know all of the magical symbolism that my teacher at the time had said, okay, now it's time to pick up the tarot cards again. If you all have taken my course, Mastering the Tarot, I tell a bit of a story of how he trained me, and I don't want to confuse things, so I'm not going to bring that up today. Take the course, and you'll hear the story. I may tell it again in the future, but I will say that in learning the different symbols within magic, the different symbolism within the occult, whether it be shamanic, ceremonial magic, Kabbalistic, all of the above, Egyptian, and all of that. It was in understanding all that symbolism that when I picked up the tarot cards again, it became so much easier for me to understand. Once I understood the difference between the pentacles and the wands and the elemental association with each of those and what that might mean, and understanding a little bit more of numerology and how that applied to the card, that all kind of really helped me a lot. And that's why I wanted to bring this up again today. I've never really talked about magical symbolism on any of my broadcasts, and I don't know if I talk much about it in the Mastering the Tarot course, but I thought that I'd go over some of the basics and kind of just refresh our minds if you're already a practitioner and or a tarot reader, to see how, it was just one of those things, how you get all this information. And I use this analogy a lot, reading all these books, studying, and then all of a sudden something clicks and it all just kind of comes together. And that's kind of what happened with me when it comes to the magical symbolism of the tarot. And so the first thing I want to point out is that the symbolism is going to be different on whatever deck that you're using. I prefer to use, I only use, I should say, I only use the top deck, the Crowley deck. I can use the Rider-Waite. I think it's important to know the basics. To me, the Rider-Waite is a fundamental system of tarot that's important for all of us to know. But when I went on to start doing readings and whatnot, the top deck just really spoke to me and still speaks to me to this day. I've had the same deck for over 30 years that I use. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice in my little talk today is that if you are a Wiccan, the symbolism is going to be a little bit different. Gardner had wands as an air symbol. In the tarot, they are fire. So I'm engaging this toward I don't want to say the actual occult symbolism, but the standard occult ceremonial magical symbolism or Kabbalistic symbolism of the wands as fire. So you might pick that up. It doesn't mean that one's better than the other. Whatever symbolism works for you, that's great. But I'm going to stick with the Kabbalistic and the high magic terminology and symbols. So let's start with the suits. When we are talking about the minor arcana, just like in regular playing cards, there are 4 suits, and they're the pentacles, the wands, the cups, and the swords. Some of them have them as the discs. I believe in the Crowley deck we call it the discs. I always call them the pentacles anyway. And so each of these 4 suits are associated with an element. Again, pentacles are associated with the earth. Wands are associated with the element of fire. Cups associated with the element of water. And swords are associated with the element of earth. One of the little tricks I did to remind me about the difference, I was trained Wiccan before I got trained as a ceremonial magician. So in order for me to remember that, is I pictured the swords as a giant atome. And atome was considered, the way I was taught, atome is an air symbol. So think of a giant atome as an air symbol, but remember that the wands are going to be fire. Let's start talking about a little bit about the pentacles. The pentacles, of course, deal with the element of earth. So this is a very grounding element. It's rooted in the physical. So anytime you see the pentacles in a card, it's going to deal with your material reality, and that includes your finances, your health, your property, your career, your job, your business, those types of things. For me, I also extend it out to your immediate surroundings. That could include the people within your household, people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis on this 3D material, 3.5D material plane of existence. Now, what I ask you at this time, well, what I usually ask a student when I'm training them one-on-one on tarot, is to think about some symbolism that represents Earth to you. It could be a picture of a planet. It could be coins. It could be crystals, rocks, minerals are associated with Earth. the color green, brown. These are all symbols of something that we would consider a symbol of earth. So we can go on and really kind of tap into the energy of what the Pentacles is getting across there, or I should say, the symbolism of the earth that is within the cards. If you look in the cards, you are going to find other things that represent the earth symbolism, and that goes with all of the suits. So the cups. The cups represent the element of water. The way I remember it is I visualize that you can fill a cup with water. You know, it holds a liquid or wine, whatever. It's liquid, it's water. And water, as a water sign, I realized that for me, a very moody water sign, that it has to do with emotion. A lot of the symbols in when we see a water symbol, it usually has to do with our emotions, emotions that could lead to love, it could lead to relationships. Talks about our connections with one another and the interpersonal relationships that we have with one another. But there are a lot more symbols, water symbols, that you can find again within each of the cards. Some things that I find for me is the love card. To me, is a water card, even though it's a major arcana card. To me, that still has the element of water to it. And as we go down the line, of course, we can go into, let's go into the wands, which represent fire. Again, when I think of when I think of wands, I think of the fire wand in my Golden Dawn temple 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It was a bright red wand, very phallic looking. So I always think of fire, and I think of transformation. I think of inner alchemy. I think of inner change, but it's also has to do with your passions, and your passions are that which the passion that you have for your life could be your ambition. So ambition is a great way, a great thing that symbolizes as well. For me, the symbol of fire and or the wands also means change. Again, back to that transformation, that inner alchemy or outer alchemy. It could be a change on the outside, something happening around you. So, for example, you get a fire card with a pentacle card. It could mean that something's going to change around you. Especially, it could be a job or your home or something to that effect. The swords, again, reminding us the swords are giant atomes, which are air. Air is an element that is associated with your mental self. I always think of your stream of consciousness, the thoughts. I think of blowing wind. I think of things that are going on in my mental realm of thought. This also has to do with confrontation and communication. Has to do with courage. Think of swords, the strong guy with the sword, being courageous, a knight. And we'll go into that in just a second. But it can deal with conflicts and arguments as well, depending on their placement. So air has other symbols. What are some other symbols of air? I think of immediately off the top of my head, I think of incense. Incense rises into the air. I think of animals that fly, to me, represent air, which you will see like birds and whatnot in the cards as well. So there's a lot of different not so in your face symbols that are associated with this. And the reason why I like to I like to approach it like this is that, earth, air, fire, and water are represented in all of the cards in one form or another, and all of the little symbols and all the little drawings and images that you see in those cards. So when you scan a card, see what you pick up on I usually say when I'm teaching somebody one-on-one to do a daily scanning of a card. Scan a card, get to know that card, get to see all the little symbols in it, and see how many are air, fire, water. It's just a great way to get to know them. And eventually they just start speaking to you. One of the other things that we don't think about when it comes to symbolism, well, I think about, but maybe a beginner might not think about, is that each of the cards are numbered. So we have numerology in there, and the symbolism that is incorporated with all the numbers of 1 through 10. Each of the cards, we have let's say the Ace of Wands up to well, we can go to the core cards, the King of Wands, which is not necessarily a number, but the 10 of Wands. Each of those numbers have a representative meaning. If you know your numerology and you study numerology, you will be able to layer that into your interpretation of the symbol of that particular card. Then we have, well, actually, let me give you some examples of the numerology stuff. For me, the ace card is always the beginning. And when I see an ace of wands, if you look at most of the ace cards, at least in the Rider-Waite deck, and also maybe not so much in the Crowley deck, but in the Rider-Waite deck, you'll usually see the ace card of a hand handing out something like a goblet, or handing out a wand, or a floating arm with a chalice in its hand. So I've always associated that with a very divine gift, the beginning. It's usually a divine gift of that particular element in that meaning. So, for example, the Ace of Wands to me usually symbolizes the divine gift of clarity, or the divine gift of inspiration, something where our mind is being cleared, of course, depending on the cards that are next to it. And with that said, let's talk about the court cards. So the court cards, we have our pages, our knights, our queens, and our kings. When I think of the page, I think of, when we're trained in the tarot, we usually think of, the page is like the young apprentice learning something, and has to do with a young person in one way or another. There are certain cards that within the page realm, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I see the symbolism. Well, let's say the page of Pentacles. In the Crowley deck, he's riding like a chariot with a bull and all that, and it's a really messy thing. So I always consider that, not always, but immediately what comes to mind is that symbolism evokes within me a young person who doesn't really know his way around things, especially when it comes to material things. I always call it like the frat boy and the china shop type thing. That's the energy that symbolism brings to me. But it usually has to do with some youthful energy, and usually it has to do with being in service. The page is the apprentice. The page is the one who's helping the knight. He's the helper, so he's in service. Then we go on to the knight. Well, the knight's a little bit more mature. The knight, how do you see a knight? A knight is, he's already been dubbed a sir, for lack of a better term. He's got a little bit more of a mature energy. His energy is a little bit more grounded, and he kind of knows what he's doing, and he's moving forward. So the knight, to me, symbolizes all of those energies when I see a knight. The queen for me is a leader. The queen for me is a powerful, empowered woman The queen symbolizes someone who rules with compassion and with heart. So I always, depending on the symbol that's around her, or depending on the suit, the Queen of Cups. To me, she is the woman, the female energy that has mastered the emotions, for lack of a better term, and that's a very generic interpretation I'm giving you right now. And then let's move on to the king. The king is the leader. He has made it to the top. He's at the top of his role, whatever it may be. Whether it be work. King of Pentacles. He is the CEO of that position, of that job. He's the head of the family if it has to deal with material, your family, your material family. He has succeeded. He has accomplished. So the king usually has these types of energies, again, depending on what the suit is, and of course, depending on what the other cards are around him. And again, now, that just covers the suit cards and the minor arcana. Then, of course, we have the major arcana, which to me are my favorite cards to work with because they represent your hero's journey. They are the archetypes of great change within your life. So the major arcana, starting with the Fool. The Fool is beginning the hero's journey, that spiritual quest. And he goes through all the motions, goes on his journey, falls, gets up, learns things until he reaches, enlightenment or whatnot. But when I see these cards, to me, I see them as symbols of where we are on our own personal growth and where we are in our own hero's journey. It tells the story of your spiritual awakening, your spiritual growth. And when a card like that comes up, it usually has major implications because we're talking about either turning points or, again, depending on what cards are around it, we're talking about turning points or major upheavals. The tarot card is a major upheaval card. I've gotten used to the tarot card, though, by now. As we get older, we get used to the tarot card. But, so yeah. The point of all of this that I'm trying to make is that in understanding magical symbolism, and again, whether it be understanding what pentacles are, what numerology means, within the cards there are also astrological symbols. Within the cards there are also little doodles written by the artist that kind of can be interpreted into a magical symbol depending on how well you understand magical symbols. So basically, this is my inspiration to you to get to know more magical symbols. Start by going outside and seeing, picking out something that represents earth, air, fire, water. A stick could represent earth. A holly tree with red berries could represent fire. So, depending on how you interpret it is how you're going to develop your language of these magical symbols and the archetypes that they represent. I don't believe it's one way or the highway. I believe that the more that we understand magical symbology, we begin to understand it and interpret it into a language that is integrate. Wait, I'm sorry, that's not even a real word. That is created by us. It's our way to communicate with the universe through the symbology and the archetypes and how that we represent them. Here we go. My favorite symbol, the pentacle. And even within pentacles, there are multiple pentacles that can be drawn and how they're drawn, and they all have different symbols and whatnot. But anyway, I hope this inspires you to learn more, a bit more about magical symbols. And again, if you're interested in learning more from me, I do offer one-on-one apprentices with that as well. I teach it at grade school, so you can take a course with me on the cards at the Grade School of Wizardry. And you can also take my course, the Mastering the Tarot, on my website at bernardalvarez.com. But yeah, learn more. Tell me, post in the comments, let me know a little bit of something interesting about some of the magical symbols that you've seen. And I might also add that I'm very very how do we say, attracted to Egyptian symbolism. So there's a lot of that in the Crowley cards as well. So I like that. Anyway, so thank you for listening. It is now time. We're running a little bit late because I talked about something that I really like. So it is now time for us to do our intention, our spell work. Now, I don't have a theme for this week's spell. So what I'm going to ask is that you contemplate for a few moments what it is that you would like to bring into your life. What would you like to intend into your life? I'll outline it ever so quickly of what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'm going to ask you to think about what it is you want to do. I'm going to ask you to create a mantra for what it is. But the important key here is not that I will have that job. I will. No, I am working at the job I want. I am living in the house that I want. That will be your mantra that you're going to repeat as we raise the energy. So remember, I am, not I'm going to. So once you join me in this week's spell, let's go ahead and close our eyes and take a few deep breaths. Taking a deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly. Pause and exhale. Again, taking a deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly. Pause and exhale. And one more deep, 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 deep breath in through your nose. Pause and exhale. Turn back to your normal, natural breathing rhythm. And I'd like you to think about what you would like to see in your life. Harm none. Allow it to come to mind. And come up with a short phrase. I am blank, 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 blank. I am fill in the blank. Now begin to create the thought form of seeing yourself in this space. Begin to visualize yourself in the space you are manifesting, the place, the job, the home, the inner peace, if that's what you're asking for. And allow that image to become clearer and clearer. Seeing yourself in a moment, feeling that you've achieved it. Now that you've achieved it, feeling that gratitude that you have it. Sense that gratitude, you have it now. Now we're going to say the I am 3 times. You can fill in the blank if you'd like or not. Holding on to the vision. I am. I am. I am. Release the thought form. Seeing it complete. And you can say it with me. And as I do will it, so mote it be. Blessed be. Thank you. And thank you for joining me and doing that. So I'd like to pop over to the chat and say a few hellos to some of you. Let's see if it'll let me get into the chat. They redid my interface. Hey. Well, hello, Sugar Venom Doll on YouTube. Hello, James Rockefeller on Facebook. Good to see you. I don't think I've seen you in a while. Good to see you again. Latrice and the Magician on YouTube. Hello, hello. How are you? Very good to see you. And boy, we have Becky and Cheryl and Aisling and Vita and True Love and Becky. Oh my goodness, so many of you on YouTube. So good to see you. Thank you all for joining me here. Very happy to see you. Anyway, thanks for being here. Just want to let you know that it's that time of year. I always like to do this once a year, and I'm going to be doing the curse removal and soul retrieval. I always like to do this near the beginning of the year so that we get a kind of a fresh slate to start from. So tune in next Tuesday. We will be doing the curse removal and soul retrieval. It will be a little bit of a different format. It will not be my Grove format that I call this. We're gonna I'll do like a short 2-minute talk introduction. Be prepared to meditate or at least be very relaxed as we do the curse removal with your eyes closed for about 20 minutes. So if you do want to do this, plan ahead of time. Be here on time. I do 4 p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday. If you want to participate live, of course, the archive will be available if you'd want to do it then afterward. And then, of course, please, the Grove and all of the work that I do on all my social media is for you. I really do not get paid for it, but your contributions do help cover the cost to do all the stuff. So I don't have to pay for it. So please consider becoming a supporter either on Patreon, on YouTube, or on Facebook. You can also just send like a one-time tip. If you look in the description, there's like a little PayPal me link if you'd like to do that. I would really appreciate it. I thank you so much for being a part of this. And now let us do our closing words and meditation. I'd like to close your eyes and join me so we can start this next week with some good energy. Be gone from me, worry and woe. I have the strength to break free and the wisdom to know. As I breathe in the sacred day, my calm will grow. I call upon my inner guide to help me take it slow. My serenity and tranquility will overflow with harm to none, blessings to all. So mote it be, blessed be. Thank you, everyone. I love you and have a wonderful week. I look forward to our time next week. It's going to be really cool. I'll see you then. Have a great week.